Okay, so this week we're diving into something uh, a little bit different, a little bit spooky, especially with Halloween right around the corner, right?
Yeah.
We're talking haunted places.
Hmm.
And you know what? The material you sent over is seriously giving me chills.
It's uh it's really fascinating how, these places they capture our imaginations, right? I mean, it seems
Well,
like every culture has them, haunted buildings, haunted locations, haunted this and that, from ancient ruins all the way to like abandoned hospitals.
yeah, and you've got some really interesting ones on our list today. But
Yeah.
before we even get to those specific places, I'm kind of curious, like, what is it about these places, as humans, that draws us in? Is
Hmm.
it just the history? Is it something deeper? What do you think?
Well, I think the historical context plays a huge role, for sure. Just take, for example, like the Tower of London, right? You were talking about that. Centuries and centuries of imprisonment and executions,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
It's almost as if, like, the weight of all of those events, they just seep into the very stones of the place.
Right.
It's no wonder that people report all kinds of strange things there.
Totally. And we've got that story about Anne Boleyn's ghost. You mentioned that one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I find so interesting. It's like we've got the history, right? But then there's this layer of like perception on top of it.
Yeah.
It does knowing that a place has this really, you know, intense, grim past.
Right.
Does that actually make it feel more haunted to us?
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like our minds are hardwired
Huh?
to connect those dots, right? Think
Mm.
about like an old abandoned house. Maybe it's got a couple of creepy stories attached to it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Suddenly, every time you hear a floorboard creak or like you feel a draft,
Right.
it becomes something more, right?
Yeah.
It's like your senses are heightened. They're more in tune to anything that seems out of the ordinary.
Totally, totally. Oh, and then you've got that stone take theory, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is basically this idea that energy from past events can almost be imprinted on a location.
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it?
It is.
As if these places hold like a memory,
Hmm.
but not just in a metaphorical sense, but almost like a physical, energetic residue left behind.
Yeah, so it's like imagine if walls could actually absorb the emotions, the trauma, all of that.
Right. And that some believe this residual energy could even manifest as, like, you know, apparitions or unexplained sounds, even cold spots, the kinds of things that paranormal investigators often talk about.
Okay. See, this is what I love about these deep dives. We start with a spooky story, but now we're talking psychology, maybe even physics a little bit.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, could there be more to these places than we currently understand?
Right. And I think that's part of what makes these locations so compelling, right?
Yeah.
They challenge us to confront the unknown,
Right.
like to kind of question what we believe about, reality itself.
For sure. Okay, speaking of compelling locations, let's actually talk about a few specific ones that you found in your research. You included some seriously infamous spots, and we've got to talk about them. I know we touched on the Tower of London already, but then there's Eastern State Penitentiary.
Right.
That's the one that really stood out to me. That place sounds like it is straight out of a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's considered one of the most haunted locations in America. It's a former prison, of course. So you have
Yeah.
that kind of like, very intense history.
Right, right.
And former guards, visitors, they've reported seeing shadowy figures, hearing voices.
Oh, no, thank you.
There's even this overwhelming sense of being watched, like somebody's always right behind you.
Okay, you've officially convinced me to add that one to my places I'm never visiting list.
Subtle chuckle.
But on a slightly less terrifying note, let's talk about a place that's definitely on my must-see list, even if it is for a good scare, the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Any Stephen King fans listening will know exactly why this one is so intriguing. This is the hotel that inspired The Shining.
Wow.
It's a masterpiece. And I've read stories about Room 217 in particular, being like incredibly active, phantom piano music, ghostly children.
Oh, wow.
And you know what's really interesting? Stephen King himself, he's actually said that he felt a presence while he was staying there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy, right?
It's like this feedback loop of spookiness. Like, did the stories inspire the book, or did the book then amplify the stories even more?
Exactly. It makes you wonder. And, I think the Stanley Hotel is a prime example of how a place being connected to pop culture, it can really amplify its haunted reputation.
Totally. And, sometimes those stories, whether they're rooted in like, real events or just
Right.
totally made up.
They kind of take on a life of their own.
Totally.
It's almost as if, like, the act of telling the stories becomes part of the location's energy.
Okay, I have chills.
Right.
And finally, we have to talk about what might be the most unsettling place of all. Poveglia Island. Now, this one isn't just full of spooky stories. It has a very real and very dark history.
Hmm.
This island off the coast of Italy, it was both a plague quarantine zone and an insane asylum.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a 1-2 punch of, like,
I
you know,
know, yeah.
dark energy.
It's like something out of a nightmare.
It really is. And it's considered so intensely haunted that you're not even allowed to go there anymore. The Italian government actually forbids visitors.
Wow.
So Poveglia Island is officially off my list. But it brings up a good point. We've talked about how our minds can make a place feel haunted, right? And how stories can amplify that.
Right.
And we know some places genuinely have a dark and intense history.
Right.
So how do we separate the stories, the spooky stories, from the reality of these places? What about the science behind all this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It fuels so many conversations and debates and, paranormal investigations.
Mm-hmm.
How much of what we're attributing to the supernatural is actually just explainable?
Right.
Or are there actually occurrences that we just can't explain? And how do we approach it?
It's the ultimate mystery. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into right after this quick break. Okay, so we're back, and we're ready to get into the nitty-gritty of investigating haunted places.
All right, let's do it.
We've talked about the history, the psychology, all the stories.
Mm-hmm.
But now I want to know, how do people actually investigate these places? You included some stuff about paranormal investigations in your research.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, I'm a little skeptical, but also super intrigued by it.
Yeah, well, it's a strange world.
It is.
You've got folks who are coming at it from a purely scientific point of view.
Right.
Like they just want to debunk all the myths, find a rational explanation.
Right.
And then you've got the believers, the ones who are convinced that these places hold evidence of the afterlife,
Of course.
ghosts, spirits, all that.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird push and pull between belief and skepticism.
Totally.
And that's what I find so interesting.
It's fascinating.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the investigations themselves for a minute.
Okay.
You mentioned EMF detectors and EVP recordings.
Can you break those down for me? What are we talking about here? What are these investigators actually looking for?
Okay, so imagine you're a paranormal investigator. You walk into a place like Eastern State Penitentiary,
Okay.
which we were just talking about.
Spooky.
Super spooky. And you've got all these tools, these gadgets, trying to detect the undetectable right.
Right.
So one of those tools is an EMF detector.
Okay.
It stands for electromagnetic field.
Right.
And basically it just measures fluctuations in electromagnetic fields.
Okay.
Now, the theory is that spirits, ghosts, energy from the other side, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
can disrupt those fields.
Interesting.
So you're looking for smikes on the detector.
So you're tuning into a radio frequency that we wouldn't normally be able to hear.
Yeah, you can think about it like that.
Okay, what about EVP recordings? Those always kind of freak me out.
Yeah, EVP stands for electronic voice phenomena.
Okay.
So basically you're using a recording device trying to capture voices or sounds that weren't audible to you in the moment.
Oh, like whispers and stuff?
Whispers, moans, maybe even full-blown conversations.
Get out.
That only show up when you play the recording back.
Oh, that's creepy. And I'm guessing there's debate about whether those voices are really ghosts or just interference or background noise.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, a creaky floorboard can sound a lot like footsteps on an EVP recording.
Right. Especially if you're expecting to hear something.
Exactly. You're already primed for it.
Yeah.
And EMF readings, those could be thrown off by all kinds of things.
Right.
Faulty wiring, even the Earth's magnetic field.
Okay, so how much of this is just in our heads? If you go into a place thinking it's haunted, are you more likely to interpret every little thing as proof?
100%.
Mm.
Our minds are powerful.
Right.
We look for patterns. We try to find meaning, even when there might not be any.
Totally. It's like we were saying earlier about the stories we tell ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the science, or at least the attempt to be scientific. We've got the psychology of it all. But what about those personal experiences that people have?
Right.
The ones that happen even if you aren't out there with an EMF detector?
Yes.
What about feeling a presence in your house?
Right.
Or seeing something move out of the corner of your eye, hearing your name whispered when no one's around?
Those are the stories that really get under your skin.
They do.
Because they're happening in everyday life in the places we feel safe.
Right.
And they make you question your own perceptions.
It's true. And it's funny you mention feeling things in your house.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even talked about sleep paralysis yet.
Oh, yeah.
Which you mentioned in your research.
Yes.
And it's a perfect example of something that's totally scientific, but can feel completely terrifying,
Absolutely.
especially when we're talking about haunted places.
Right, because it plays on those fears.
Exactly. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Okay, so picture this.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up in the middle of the night,
Okay.
but you can't move. You can't speak. You're aware of everything around you,
Oh, God.
but your body's totally frozen.
That's terrifying.
Right. And now imagine experiencing that in a dark room.
Oh.
Maybe you hear a sound, see a shadow, feel a presence on your chest.
No, thank you.
It's easy to see how sleep paralysis could be mistaken for something more sinister.
Right. Especially if you already believe in ghosts or you've watched too many scary movies.
Exactly. Your mind goes there.
It does. This is what I love about these deep dives. It's like we uncover a new layer every time we talk about something.
It's true.
It's like we've got science trying to explain things, psychology, personal experiences, all mixed up together.
Self-connected.
It really is. So where do we go from here? Are there any actual answers when it comes to haunted places?
Well, if there were easy answers, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting, would it?
That's a good point.
I think the question that we need to be asking ourselves is, what if some things just exist beyond what we can currently explain?
It's both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. Right.
Oh man, this deep dive has given me so much to think about.
Me too.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll be talking about what it all means and what you can take away from our spooky journey into the world of haunted places.
Oh.
All right, so we've gone deep into the world of haunted places.
We really have.
All the history, the science, the psychology.
Mm-hmm.
We even touched on the tech that people use to try and understand these places.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is.
Okay.
So now for the big question.
Right.
What does it all mean?
That is the question, isn't it? And honestly, I think the answer is different for everyone. Like,
Right.
for some people, it might be about recognizing the power of our own minds.
Right, like we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
If you go into an old building and you're already convinced it's haunted, you're going to find evidence everywhere you look.
It's true. But then there are people who I think really want to believe in something beyond what we can see and touch.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
And for those people, maybe these stories, these places offer a glimpse into that other realm.
It's both humbling and kind of terrifying at the same time, isn't it?
Totally.
I know I've definitely learned a lot from putting this deep dive together.
Me too.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think that's the real takeaway here. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or somewhere in between, there's always something new to discover.
It's true. So as we wrap up this exploration of haunted places, I want to leave you with this thought. The next time you're in a spooky old house
Okay?
and you hear a floorboard creak,
Yeah.
or maybe you feel a chill, don't just dismiss it. Take a second to consider the possibilities.
Right.
Maybe it's nothing.
Or maybe
Or maybe it's something more.
the echo of a story waiting to be heard.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to do your own deep dives into the unknown.
I love that. All right, folks, that's it for this week's deep dive into the shadowy, mysterious, and always intriguing world of haunted places.
Thanks for listening, everyone.